Guys, and welcome back. As always, if you are new to the channel, please do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow my channel and bring you more interesting statistics. So today we're going to talk about a problem that affects EU and US, and not only those regions, a record drop in children being born. So the natality problem, and today we're gonna focus on this topic from an economic perspective. So I'll leave aside the social aspects if you want, and if you're curious about my point of view, let me know, and we can also discuss about some social aspects. But bear in mind, I'm a Christian conservative, right, political leaning, so the leftists and liberals might not like my point of view. So we will leave aside the social aspects like the encouraging of migration and the promotion of abnormal uh, behaviors such as LGBTQ, and we'll talk from a economic point of view. So what it takes to actually um, raise a child and why young people in EU and US are less and less willing to do so. So first of all, if we look at the statistics, we see that European Union and the United States face persistent natality declines, with fertility rates well below the 2.1 replacement level, driven by skyrocketing childcare, inflation, shifting social norms. Both regions are seeing families shrink despite parents often desiring more children. I think this part is subjective, with parents desiring more children, or maybe it's just a desire but not put into practice. So the natality decrease, or as it called, the baby bust. Both EU and US are experiencing historic lows in birth rates. And this is largely driven by the high opportunity cost of childbearing. As I've said, we'll focus today on the economic aspects. Then, of course, the lack of affordable housing. Because, yeah, if you have to maybe share a small apartment with apartment mates, roommates, even, then where are you going to have the space to raise a child? And career penalties, which sadly still is the case in some countries. So while in the European Union the fertility rate dropped to 1.34 live births per woman, and in 2024 approximately 3.55 million babies were born, continuing a downward trajectory that experts associate with political polarization, economic uncertainty, and delayed family formation. And this is also not to take into account uh, which categories and maybe migrants have a higher fertility rate, and then the natives having lower and lower fertility rates. Then in United States, the US birth rate also hovers around 1.4 to 1.6 birth per woman, so it's a bit better than in the EU. Rising unexpected inflation over the last few years, as they say, has negatively impacted fertility rates, with couple postponing or foregoing childbearing as real purchasing power drops. This is from a link from the European Commission. And if you look at the article here, basically an official an official website from the European Commission, we get more or less the same statistics. So the total fertility rate is going down. It's going down quite abruptly. Um, I mean, here it's basically shown from 2001 to 2023. So you don't really have the full picture. But if we go with the graph, let's say for maybe 100 years, it will be more like this. So, yeah, we know that natality rates in both the EU and US have fallen to historic lows, driven primarily by the soaring cost of child rearing, housing, and childcare, combined with a cultural shift towards prioritizing um, other, let's say, life choices. Not only career, but maybe also if the new generations the desire to have more time for leisure, for entertainment, and so on. So, if we go into the actual cost to raise a child, and if we go on certain statistics, if we take a look, in both EU and US, childcare and housing are actually the largest economic hurdles. For United States, raising a child from birth to age 18 is estimated to cost between $200,000 and $300,000 on average, according to different demographic sources. Of course, in higher cost of living states like Massachusetts, this figure can jump to over $600,000. And annual childcare expenses alone range from at least $3,000 to over to $20,000 per child. Now, in EU, things are a bit differently, but costs vary significantly across member states. General trends also point to heavy financial burdens on families. In the EU, which is outside of in the UK, outside of the EU after Brexit, right? But facing similar trends, the average nursery costs for a child under two run about £12,000 annually. So that's huge only if you think about it. In higher cost hubs, like ones in Germany or France, while there are some state subsidized schooling, and this mitigates some expenses, parents still face major financial constraints due to a lack of affordable housing and opportunity costs related to taking time out of the workforce. So first of all, as we've discussed in previous videos, housing is really a problem. It's a problem even for a single individual, and it affects their life choices. So having to maybe share an apartment or even a room, having to pay maybe half of your salary to rent, while still facing inflation and the higher cost of living isn't really motivating anyone to start a family. So some key drivers behind the drop, obviously inflation and the economic uncertainty. So high inflation rates and climbing housing interest rates have reduced purchasing power, making, as I've said, young couples hesitant to take on the financial responsibilities of starting a family. Then there are the opportunity cost. Um, and if we talk about the opportunity costs, you have many women delay or forego having children to avoid long-term career setbacks or maybe wage gaps associated with motherhood. There's also social aspect and the rise of left politics and feminism, which yeah, go against the idea of having children, basically. Um, and then the ineffective policy levers. So if we talk about that, while some EU countries offer state-sponsored childcare and baby bonuses or incentives to have babies, Economists still note that cash incentives generally fail to reverse this long-term decline in natality trends. Because if you offer, let's say, a stimulus package like in the US, let's call it that, to have a baby, this is one time, but then the cost with the child are recurrent until he or she reaches 18 or 21 years old, until he or she basically has a job and they are, let's say, ready to uh, support their own cost, right? So yeah, this is an interesting topic which we'll definitely visit in the future. So again, if you liked the video, and I'll leave you with this total fertility rate, the data from 2023 in the different European countries, with the ones in black being the highest. If you like it, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and talk to you soon. Thank you.